I don't know that people in general are disappointed with these experiences, but I think they should be if they're not. One of the topics that comes up very frequently between us has to do with entertainment, of course, and it is a hot button topic because, for understandable reasons, and for some reasons that I agree with, Athena is vehemently opposed to what new buzz term in entertainment is, which is interactive entertainment.
No.
Immersive is what they call it, right?
Yes.
Immersive is that's the buzz term. What I do for a living is so audience dependent that what I do is kind of the original immersive entertainment.
Exactly.
Right?
Yep. Exactly.
So I can't be so opposed to immersive entertainment because that's my whole career. Right?
Okay.
My work is audience dependent, and it's interactive and designed to. We'll get there. I know this is a very hot button topic. We're gonna get there.
I know. Okay, so yes, you're absolutely right.
Yes.
What you do is considered immersive.
It is.
My biggest beef is what immersive experiences have evolved to. That's my biggest problem.
And I share that.
Okay, so we're there. I was in a show that was considered immersive. The reason being is that things came out of the ceiling with performers on them.
Right.
And it was designed to make the audience feel like they were in it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we had over 100 people on stage, over 100 people backstage moving the sets and things. And there were things that came out of the ceiling that the dancers would be on, that would move on and dance on. And that created an immersive experience.
Yes, I agree.
Okay? Immersive experiences. Now, on the other hand,
well, there are a few, and it's been an evolution. I would say for quality of entertainment, it's the opposite of evolution. It is more budget friendly to a degree that it's lights now.
Right. Okay.
So
before we dive into all of that,
yeah.
Maybe we should introduce ourselves.
Oh, why not? I'm Phelyx. This is my partner, Athena. We are professional entertainers and performers as a career and as careers. Very separately, we met in entertainment, and we have been together for several years, many years after that.
We're almost at 8.
Yeah. So this is kind of an interactive podcast. We like to take prompts from people who watch and listen to us. And we're always excited to read anything that you send us, of course, save for criticisms, which I agree with most of them anyway. But this particular prompt comes from one of the discussions that we often have with each other. For the most part, we are in agreement. For the most part, there are a couple of differences or differing views or viewpoints, but essentially, immersive theater has devolved into, from a production side, inexpensive to produce.
Yep.
So that more of the budget can go towards marketing. And I don't know that people in general are disappointed with these experiences, but I think they should be if they're not.
Agreed. There's 2 that I know of that are coming to Denver or have been in Denver. And that is the Immersive Dolly exhibit and the Disney Immersive experience.
It was a Van Gogh that was just like the Dolly too. So
okay, so we have had 3.
In Immersive Salvador Dali exhibit, you are exposed to animated projections of Dali paintings and music, and that's that together, right?
Yeah. We didn't go. I refused to spend money.
I wasn't going to waste money on that.
I refused.
There wasn't a real Dolly, I don't think, right?
No. As far as I know, we don't know.
It does remind me of going, now this was a big deal 30 plus years ago, to go to the planetarium for the laser show.
Yes.
Which was mostly kind of an appeal to those on pharmaceuticals.
Right. And
recreational
that's
pharmaceuticals.
what I'm annoyed about this whole thing. You might as well go to Burning Man or
Right.
what is it? The new one, Coachella or the Fire Festival.
Any of those events, yeah.
I mean, that's what it's all about. It's basically tech and tech geeks meet art. That seems to be what immersive theaters become, which is
There are
unfortunate.
other experiments in what we call immersive
Okay.
theater.
Do you want to talk about them now, or do you want to
There,
bring
there are
them up
several.
later?
Yeah, and the most recent ones here in Denver. One was championed and designed by David Byrne from Talking Heads,
Okay.
who is also a photographer and an artist. Tireless. He's always creating something, and
Nice.
I really like him.
Yeah.
He created what was an evolution of some experiments that I was involved in. I'll talk about that in a moment. But the most recent evolution with our major theater organization in Denver, in Colorado for that matter, SCFD, which is Science and Cultural Facilities.
District.
Yes, I did not attend that one, and I kind of regret. I mean, I'd like to have seen it. So they had a bunch of actors and that kind of thing, and so it was like Sleep No More, which is kind of the project in New York that all of these things are kind of based in.
I think that was the first one you told me, right?
And it was the most famous. There were other experiments. There was one that was kind of a bus ride through Manhattan, and the side of the bus was open, and so the audience was on the bus being driven through this experience with actors and sights and that kind of thing in Manhattan.
I mean, that's a bigger venue.
It definitely is, but I think that there would be no way to insure that, to get insurance and that kind of thing. Yeah.
So that's a consideration, is insurance. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other consideration is staff. Like, okay, so we're just giving examples. He knows more about immersive theater because he has experience with immersive theater. When Sweet and Lucky was created here in Colorado, I didn't understand why they kept extending it. And it was sold out, and it kept selling out, and it kept selling out. And I'm like, what is this thing? What is this show? And he had explained
that was the second one.
That was the second one,
yep.
Right? Yeah.
And mine was the first.
Right. And this is kind of a juicy bit because I don't think a lot of people know about your immersive show.
I'll tell you the major tragedy. So we'll call this a juicy bit. And the major tragedy of that experiment, very costly experiment.
Yeah.
I was reached by the theater, specifically. There's Off Center at the Denver Center, right? Off Center does a lot of experimental theater. They were mostly known for doing queer theater and drag theater and projects like that. Mm-hmm. And they approached me about starring in a show that was designed to be immersive, and they had no idea what that looked like when they approached me. The selling point for me was that they had also booked a friend of mine who is a very famous and talented musician to write and play an original score in every time we ran the show, right?
Gosh, I wish I would have seen it.
Oh, it was really something. I wish I would have seen it too. And here's what I mean by that. It was designed to be immersive in all of the ways, and it was experimental, absolutely. These were people who a lot of them had attended the Manhattan Project Sleep No More, and brought home that memory, and wanted to create something similar.
You had already seen it.
I had not. I've never seen Sleep No More.
Oh, which one had you seen? Oh,
none.
He just created an immersive experience out of thin air.
Well, kind of, except for the fact that our production team, the design team, was 30 people. There were too many cooks, so that was one of the problems with there were too many cooks. But that's what happens when you have something that is grant funded, and you have oversight, and you have enough money to hire directors of several different disciplines. We had a vocal coach, we had a dance coach, we had all of these crazy creative minds in these production meetings. That made it very difficult to create any kind of cohesive product. The other thing that we had as a tool at our disposal, if you will, was a facility that offered us environments. We had 12 different environments, each of which could house as many as 300 people, but I think it was on average like 100 people would pass through each of these environments, and no two people had the same experience. Without going through an impossible labor of trying to describe the thing, the project ran for, I can't even remember how many shows, but just a couple of weeks. But it was nightly. We had a lot of shows, and two on Sunday. So we had a matinee and a regular show on a Sunday.
How'd you do that?
Just reset and go. But it sold out before first curtain because there had been nothing like that in our market. We were sold out. All of the tickets were gone by first curtain. There weren't even late release possibility tickets. It was just sold out. So this is the juiciest bit, when it came time to get press or to approach press about the product, they weren't interested because it was sold out. Nobody could get a ticket. Why would they write about it?
What?
Yep, because it's sold out. What's the point in writing about it? So
they extended Sweet and Lucky. How many
well,
times?
Okay, so here's the reason we didn't get an extension. And we could have, because it was sold out. Like, why wouldn't you extend it if it's sold out like
That's
that?
Why I'm
before
confused.
first curtain. The problem was that it was extremely costly to produce this event. The project did take over 12 rooms, so audience members were invited to go to different environments, and there were guides, and there was invitations to go into any open door and that kind of thing. But they were densely decorated rooms. So we had a Victorian formal dining room. We had a room that had cages suspended from the ceiling with actors in them. We had 3 aerial rooms. We had a little, it was a red room, we called it, which was like a devil's room with a cauldron and an oven and all kinds of things. And we had a Wicked Witch room, which had a little Victorian child set with a rocking chair, and all. It was densely decorated. We must have emptied the entire prop warehouse for the Denver Center. I'm not kidding. Truckloads of stuff. I mean, so all of that occupied these spaces and made them unusable otherwise, right?
Right.
So then, on top of that, every production required 40 people to run. And each audience was limited to that number of 300. So
okay.
Selling 300 tickets wasn't going to pay to
keep
maintain and keep this going and have anybody on the payroll. A lot of the actors, I learned months later, were unpaid. I was not unpaid, but a lot of our actors were doing it for experiment. Yeah, I recently reconnected with one of our younger actors who is very successful in Manhattan right now. Ironically, running a magic show. Right. But he was one of the unpaid, like doing it for a resume
experience.
Piece. Yeah. So that's why it was such a tragedy that the media would not pick it up, because it could have been an impressive resume piece for him or even myself, but it wasn't a resume piece for everybody because it didn't happen.
Sometimes the media really angers me.
Well, yeah, so it was one of those experiences that reminded me that my work is immersive. I am entirely audience dependent when I perform.
We need audience. Like, we need an audience. This is hard for us because there is no exchange of energy here. I am expending energy to a camera, and you're not receiving the energy on the other end, and I'm not receiving your energy coming back here. So it's extremely exhausting to do this work, but it's still fun, and we still do it. The fact that you had, your work is immersive. Those kinds of things I think are great, but what's happening now? What has it devolved to? Because of budget, because of, I'm going to say, money. Somebody is wanting just the toxic capitalism of it all. They just want more profit. They don't want to pay people to get this thing going.
How do we make more, spend less?
And it's infuriating in the arts because it happens all the time. But for me, what I understand, because I have not seen any of these shows. I had a friend Trixie Little was in, I think it was Sleep No More, but it may be not.
Oh,
It was
she
in,
might have been.
she was in one of them, and
Okay.
she would go, like, she was an audience member, and she was like smoking in the audience, and then she'd get up and do one of her circus acts or something. Like, it just was funny that, she got to be part of that experience. And I have so many criticisms about it. Number one, as an entertainer, I worked my butt off my entire life just to get on that stage, to earn the privilege of being a performer, because it is a privilege. And if you're in this immersive experience and you get to engage with the actors face to face, like, I feel like you didn't earn that right. But apparently that doesn't bother most artists and performers and entertainers. I haven't heard anyone with the same issues that I have about it. I haven't talked to a lot of people about it, but people rave about it, about the immersive experiences.
I agree with you somewhat. So in my shows, and I think you will agree with this, this is something that we haven't talked about with just each other, but my audience members are part of my show.
Yes.
And they are part of what is entertaining for the other audience members.
Right.
Right.
That's why people don't want to volunteer.
That's
why they do this.
They do that, or they won't occupy the front row. That's the show I did at the comedy club, when nobody would sit in the front row.
Yeah.
Then they eliminated those chairs, so all of a sudden everybody's in the front row. I want to do that every time now. I really want to do that every time.
We should just put reserved across each chair in the front row.
To make them think that they're in the second row. Whichever. But I do want to just pull those chairs right before showtime.
Oh, that would be funnier.
Yeah, I just want to pull the chairs.
He's hilarious. He has all these ideas. Okay, go ahead.
So one of the things that we're getting at, and this is has a direct relationship that we have had on another stage. In fact, it's the stage where we met each other, and that is the untrained, inexperienced entertainers getting equal billing and equal spotlight time is offensive to both of us. I agree with you on this, because it is offensive that I worked my entire career to earn the privilege to be in a sacred place.
And it is sacred, yes.
And now I'm sharing that with somebody who is doing it as a bucket list item.
I'm going to clarify here, because I was on a stage with a woman who had been with the show for 23 years at the time.
Nobody more qualified.
Yeah. However, I was not in the spotlight. I was a chorus dancer.
Right.
And that's the difference. So what he's talking about is that in the burlesque world, everyone is a soloist. And I worked my butt off to become a soloist principal dancer my whole life. Mm-hmm. And it takes an exceptional talent to get there. And I got there. And then I go into the burlesque house and everybody's a soloist.
We're all stars here.
We're all stars. That's the idea behind burlesque. And maybe that's why it's so enticing to people. I just wanted to clarify, because they might misunderstand. Because I did share the stage with people that were further along in their career than I was, but I wasn't sharing the stage as a soloist. That's the criticism.
Immersive theater, I think, has a place. I understand that they are constantly, with these efforts that I was talking about, the one that I starred in was called Perception, and it was designed to be a learning exercise for the theater people, DCPA, Off Center. It was designed to be a learning experience, and they intended to waste money on it just to see what was going to work, what wasn't going to work, and try everything at once to collect that data to be able to produce Sweet and Lucky.
Which was extremely successful.
Yeah, I was a little bummed that I wasn't even invited to see Sweet and Lucky, let alone be part of it somehow. It was kind of offensive. I got to be part of the first one. Another juicy bit is that this weird creative. I remember the round table discussions we had, which was multiple tables that occupied a whole room. I did things to challenge them and to remind them that the show was called Perception. It was designed to take an audience and challenge their perceptions. And to, we did have an actor who sneaked in with groups of people from the street, from their cars, looked to be maybe home challenged or something, and then start to do an act in the elevator. So that is interesting. I never got to see that part. I never got to see a lot of these parts because I was busy rehearsing or performing my own parts. So I missed a lot of the show I was in.
I wish there was footage of any of this. It just would be
There's
incredible.
a little footage I can show you sometime.
All right, yeah. I've seen some of it, but not.
During one of the meetings, I saw us as a too populated creative team, too many cooks, kind of getting off the rails a little bit, and things getting a little bit just too fantastical, and losing the fact that I was part of it at all, and that magic was part of it, and perception. And so I attended one of the meetings dressed as one of my characters from the burlesque world, Cletus McPhee. And Cletus is a character I designed based on my own relatives. So I was challenged online about that character as being a classist act. Like, I was guilty of being classist.
Yeah.
When I'm probably more closely related to Cletus than I am to Professor Phelyx.
Which is interesting. Why are you not classist when you're Professor Phelyx?
Right.
Yeah.
So as Cletus, I just attended in disguise, and it's a fairly thorough disguise.
Let's just show a picture.
Okay. Here's the picture.
Well,
I functioned in this meeting. People sat down. I was only recognized by Tom Hagerman. Until every meeting we would introduce ourselves, and it got to me, and I said, I'm Phelyx, and I dropped a few jaws.
Yeah.
But it was designed to remind them that this is about perception. What we're creating is about perception. So we delivered that. At the end, there was an actor whose name is Allison, and Allison was me, was my doppelganger.
Really?
Part of the first part of the show to reintroduce the challenge of perception.
Okay.
I walked behind a door, came through the same door, and it was Allison, and I was gone. I was already changing costume and getting ready for the
Wow. Nice. Okay.
So
That's funny. Fun. My other criticism is that you may as well be on a Disney ride or a ride at a theme park in an immersive experience.
Fair enough. Yes.
Because all that is scenery that you're traveling through on this whatever little cart they have you on with lighting effects. They have created an illusion for you to go through and to experience. And I'm just like, well, why? Like, Meow Wolf is another one that I will not go to. My daughter thinks it's great. She's been to both. She's been to the one in New Mexico and then the one here in Denver at Convergence. And I'm sure there's more in the country.
I would go with them.
To me, the art has turned into what Disneyland was, and it's just a world that someone created. It was someone's idea to create this world that people would go to and experience. I just feel like it's not entertainment. It's a form of entertainment, but it's not a show, if that makes sense. So that's like my two biggest criticisms about immersive theater. I just think it's not a show. It's
Laser Floyd.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm totally with you.
So, what Phelyx has been doing his whole life is immersive. Like, there is exchange, there is that give and take. Some comedians do it when, they've got hecklers and they actually have to interact with those kinds of people. But when you're using technology to take the place of actual entertainment or entertainers or performers, I feel like I'm offended. I'm highly offended as a career performer. Like, I'm not performing anymore, but I don't see the value. I just don't see the value except to make someone a lot of money.
One of the things that may pass by folks who aren't entertainers is that it's difficult for me to synopsize this bit because, for not all actors are entertainers, right?
Right.
Not all musicians are entertainers. Not all entertainers are musicians. But I've seen musicians who are not entertaining, which became a huge criticism in the early 90s with Cobain, because Cobain sat on a stool and didn't smash guitars or run around or do anything entertaining. It was just, he's just playing at an audience, right?
Yeah.
And that's what we mean. There are magicians who perform at an audience. I perform with my audience. There is a give and take, and that's what makes my shows different every single time. Whereas there are other, magicians, like say, cruise magicians, who reliably are delivering the same product. It runs exactly the same amount of time.
Yeah.
You could watch a movie of it, and it'd be the same.
The same.
Right? Invariable.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like we had the magicians in our show. I mean, Siegfried and Roy got their first start with John Arden. I believe it was Hallelujah Hollywood, and then over time, there were others. When I was in the show, Dirk Arthur was in there.
Dirk, yeah.
And there was only 2 times that he had 3 sets by the time I was there. 2 of them were when he took a person from the audience. The rest was all illusion and changing showgirls into cats and vice versa. And so that's one thing. The whole criticism about performers I'm just going to call them performers. When I went to see Maroon 5, it was in their first year of touring, and I was disappointed. We were sitting in an auditorium, so it might have been the space, but I didn't feel it. I didn't feel Adam Levine reaching the audience. I'm like, you have a great voice, and I love the music, but I didn't feel like getting up and dancing like everyone else. It didn't reach me, and I wasn't like super close or super far away, but that's for us, I think, a big criticism. We talked a little bit about that in the Academia to Pro, What Makes You a Pro episode. So make sure to check that one out. I'm going to link it right here. We talk about just because you're on stage and you're doing your thing doesn't make you a pro. But maybe it doesn't make you an entertainer either. I didn't know Cobain sat there on the stool because it wasn't my kind of music.
Criticism. Yeah, he was one of the... he was not entertaining to watch. It was a huge upset.
Okay.
But it's interesting. As the extreme right now, I dare say it could get even worse. But I don't understand how you can reach an audience with surrounding them with projections or animations of still artworks.
Yeah, to me, I don't get it.
How is anyone emotionally connecting with that?
We went to see the Lido in Paris in 2019. We went to Paris, and they replaced sets with projection.
LED.
And it just, I think it took away from the entire, what makes a spectacle. And maybe we're past the spectacle point, these box office blockbusters that they're making with all the Marvel, the superheroes, and those are spectacles, but it's all, CGI, it's all animated. These people don't actually look like that. They're all animated, and it's just their face. Like, I don't understand. Like, for me, I'm old school. I want to feel their sweat, like I went to see Wicked at the DCPA, and when she did that last note, the Green Witch, God, I can't remember her name. I felt it, and we were in the nosebleeds. I felt hurt. I felt that wave go through the audience, and you cannot replace that. You can never substitute that.
Yep, there is no substitute.
And I'm just sad for what is happening to entertainment. So
I think it's tragic, but it might spell out the reason that maybe a production show would come back, because people would be blown away if they're exposed only to this dry stuff for a while. And then if something real came back, that would be...
It's possible.
That would be amazing.
It's just like going to the circus. I haven't been to the circus in a long time. I went to see you, and I was like, wow.
Well, it was a
great experience.
That's another maybe juicy bit, because I did get to perform in the circus. And the first time, so I did this over the last 2 years, 3 years, 2 years. The first time I did a bunch of appearances in several locations of the circus. And I didn't have anybody with me, so I had no photographic evidence that I essentially finally lived a childhood dream at the age of 50. Right? So I had very little photographic evidence. So it was a great score when I got asked back this year, and I was able to take Athena to take some pictures and get some evidence that I actually performed in the circus. There's only one interactive performer, except for me, in this particular circus. And that's a clown, right? But what's interesting, and I want to talk about this someday, so I'm going to just lay it here.
Okay.
Okay, here's our notes for later. This is a circus. that is part of the evolution of circus,
Okay.
which means it does not include
No
animal
animals.
acts.
Mhm.
Zero animal acts. Also,
There was an animal on the show.
well, well, there's a spoiler involved there, but we'll tell you that story another time. But the other evolution of circus is that clowns don't wear makeup.
Right. Yeah.
You picked up on that?
Yeah.
Um,
Because I didn't think he was a clown at first, and then I was
right.
like, oh, he's the clown.
Clowns no longer wear makeup.
Wow.
That one's heavy for me. That one's hard for me to file. I don't have the fear of clowns. My brother does.
Oh, he does.
Yeah. Violent.
It's violent?
Yeah.
Oh.
So we'll have to discuss that someday. Because it's more common than I believe it should be. It's entirely to blame on
Let's do that for Halloween.
movies and media.
Right.
Um, is all, I think, exclusive to Americans.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So we'll
Thanks,
tackle that
Stephen
another
King.
time. So, but this is evidence of how circus has had to adapt to
Yeah.
continue to exist, and they did a great job.
It's still the circus to me.
Yeah.
There was no animals? Fine. There's a clown with no makeup? Fine. I don't like clowns anyway. He's great. But seeing the feats that I've seen thousands of times, it was different. I don't know why, but I had a great time.
Good.
But it was immersive in a way because, you know, the aerialists were, the trapeze girl was like right over our heads, you know.
There's a certain sensation of history in Americana when you're in a tent on a sawdust floor.
Exactly.
And you have the smell of the popcorn. And,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, there's something about it. And
That's immersive.
it's immersive. I think that it's set up that way.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sad that traditional theater is kind of going away. And I don't, like, what? Let's talk about why. Do you have any clues why it could be? I mean, maybe people don't like to go out. They're giving, you know, bonuses to people who are going to movies these days. The girls got a free poster, which I don't think they've done a free poster for a movie opening in over 20 years.
Long time.
Yeah. So the girls, they went to see the new Spidey movie. I don't even know what it, anyways. They got a free poster for buying tickets. And I'm just like, well, people don't want to leave their house now? They were complaining that we were in lockdown, and now people don't want to leave their house to go out to go see a show? They don't want to pay for a show?
Long enough to train us that we're okay at home.
Yeah, well, thanks to the streaming services. You know, like my friend has a subscription to like 5 different streaming services. And I just can't even, I'm just like, wow, I don't even spend that much time in front of a device to watch a movie. You know, we have a long list of movies we should watch, and I don't. You know, it's just, why? You know, if you have an answer for me, please pop it in the comments below, because I just don't understand what happened to theater. I understand that, you know, burlesque went away because of movies, you know, the movie theater. And now the movie theater is going away, which is fascinating to me.
It'll be interesting to see what happens.
To entertainment in general, or like right now people don't have the thank you for watching to this far. People don't have the attention span to watch something this long, unless there's explosions everywhere and things like that. Luckily, you know, my youngest, she likes the older slow movies that are kind of, which is fascinating because she loves TikTok, and that's full of
30-second,
8-second videos.
Or 8.
They're 8-second videos. The viral videos, no one is longer than 30 seconds. You can just, it's just formulaic now. Yeah.
Every year for 8 seasons, I would get a call or email or a combination over and over from America Has Talent for a priority audition. There were 2 reasons I always declined. One was that I prefer tethered experiences. So experiences in my career that I have some control over. And so their contract, they finally sent me a contract because I said, well, let me see it. They owned any material I was going to perform. A long list of okay, no way. But another reason is that it was the first one was like a 30-second audition, something like that. And for what I do as a person who delivers the illusion of mind reading, it takes me longer than that to introduce myself. You know, like to deliver mind reading in 30 seconds would just look like a trick anyway.
Yeah, and which you don't appreciate. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think we've beat this to as much as we can beat this in our time allowed.
It's gonna come back up, my friend. It's gonna come back up.
Yeah,
But-
because I think we've already like teased it in a couple of episodes, and I'm just like, F you, immersive theater!
Well,
Immersive
feel the same
experiences.
way.
You know, I think that, you know, experiences in general are a better gift to people, and
yes.
you know, we'll talk about this during the holidays, but to me, it's supporting more toxic capitalism. You know, like, why immersive Dolly? Why immersive Van Gogh? I just don't understand the draw. Is it to make art more appealing to the people that don't appreciate art in the first place? Like, maybe there's
it's
something
an
to
acid
that.
trip. Those two.
This is what I'm saying. Like, I don't do drugs. I don't even drink alcohol anymore. And in my mind, it's just keeping us all asleep or unconscious. So,
escapism.
which we just talked about. It's go look at this video if you haven't seen it. All right, I think we need to.
As always, we love you. Thank you very much. Reach us any old time at hello@onebigcaper.com.
Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell and follow us on this One Big Caper. Thanks for watching.